Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this evening's Property, Highways and Transport Select Committee meeting. Warm welcome to those attending and also viewers watching live on the Council's YouTube channel, Hillingdon, London. This is a meeting of the Property, Highways and Transport Select Committee. My name is Councillor Keith Burrows and I will chair this meeting. Details of business to be considered today is shown on the agenda, copies of which are available in the room and also accessible on YouTube underneath the broadcast. Housekeeping, we're not expecting a fire drill, it's just a fire alarm goes off, even though it's raining outside. I'm afraid we do have to follow officers and out fire exits outside to the meeting points. Also, for those in the room, please switch off any mobile devices or put them to silent before the meeting starts. For those watching via YouTube, if you're so minded, you can complete one of our residents' feedback forms. These can be found in the information section underneath the YouTube video. These forms are intended to help us as a council improve the way that we run our meetings. We just moved to the agenda, and I would take apologies for absence, please.
Apologies from Councillor Chapman and Councillor Davies.
Thank you. In usual tradition, I will go around the room, ask those in the room for those home on YouTube watching, so you know who's actually here. I'll start on my right.
Good evening, I'm Councillor Steve Tuckwell, Vice Chairman.
Good evening, I'm Michael Norton, I'm the Head of the Capital Programme Work Service.
Good evening, Councillor Kamal Preet Kaur.
Good evening, Councillor Garlick.
Good evening, Councillor Peter Money.
Anisha Tedji, Democratic Services.
Thank you. Are there any declarations of interest in matters coming before this meeting? No, none declared. Also, item 3, received minutes of the previous meeting. I have one alteration where it says committee members present. It says Alan Chapman and then says in place of Steve Tuckwell, but it was actually Henry Higgins who was in place of Steve Tuckwell. So that's a change on there. Any other changes on page 1? Page 1. Page 2.
Thank you, Chair. Where it's witness testimony for local resident, we had also agreed, the committee kind of agreed that data about parking enforcement would be useful. So we all said if we could get the data on how many parking tickets were issued around schools, that would be helpful. Thank you.
Page 3. Page 4. Page 5. With that alteration and the comment made by Councillor Core, can we take those as an accurate record of our meeting? Agree? Thank you. Moving on to agenda item 5. Agenda item 4, I should say, because I have to make note that all reports this evening are in part 1. We have none in part 2, so all reports are open to the public. Agenda item 5 is the Civic Centre works. We've got a project update from Michael Norton. So it's over to you, Michael, and then if I can ask councillors, just hold questions until Michael's given us the update. Thank you. Michael.
Thank you, Councillor. I don't intend reading this verbatim as you have it in front of you. I'll just go through the various headings we have just to flesh out what we're actually doing. I suppose phases 1 and 2 of the project mostly concentrate on the 2 East Quadrant, 1 North Quadrant, the reception area and the Middlesex Suite. We have already completed a lot of asbestos stripping out and stripping out of other areas, and we're working in tandem with our colleagues in IT, FM, soft services and so on to put everything moved around and get everything together, because there's a lot of coordination of moving staff from floors to floors. So what we've done is, I suppose, particularly on the 3rd and 4th floors, we've put more desks in those places, and people have moved to those floors so that we can vacate 2 East and 2 South particularly, so we can work on them. The Middlesex Suite, where you probably have seen that there's a scaffold roof overhead, and that's so that we can repair the roof, and that work is ongoing at the moment. We also had to get some listed building consent for that because of its listing to replace the Crittall windows, which are replaced with replica Crittall windows. And we've also removed the asbestos from that area as well. In decarbonisation, we are installing heat pumps at the moment. We're also installing some PV panels, and we're doing work on the fabric of the building, like additional loft insulation, secondary glazing. We're changing the lighting and putting some insulation into the walls as well. And we're also putting in heat pumps. 10 of them are already on site. 10 are due week after next, and the balance are due in the middle of March. At the moment, the current programme for the phases we're doing at the moment are run from October of last year to July of this year, and the contractor appointed for that was Greyline. We have the funds released for that, and we're working on that, and the contract programme is being sequenced accordingly. In the Civic Centre itself, we're doing 2 East office area where we've done structural works. We're putting in new meeting rooms, breakout areas, and along with that doing mechanical, electrical, fire and data IT requirements. So on 1 North, this is mainly where the old canteen was, and that is being stripped back. We've done some works there so we can fit out a new self-service kitchen and some vending machines for the staff. 1 North also has the Borough CCTV room, and we've encased that in a 60-minute fire and acoustic panels so that the Borough Command Centre can keep the data we have there safely. We've also installed lighting which reduces glare. In the housing reception, we're co-locating housing reception with CAB at level 1 in the Middlesex suite, and that is currently being organised. CAB are currently operating from the reception area in the Civic Centre. We are looking at further quadrants, and we're also looking at external clients that may be interested in taking some space as well in the Civic Centre, and this is being worked on. In the Middlesex suite, the external part and some parts of the Middlesex suite are listed, so we have to be careful what we do there, and we are getting listed building consent where we require it. So that work is continuing with strip out at the moment, and I suppose further designs will be done when the strip out is fully completed. We prepared a flight through as well for the Civic Centre to show the corporate management team, and also some staff have looked at that and given comments on it. We're also looking at the chairs and blinds and all the other furniture fit out that would be required for the new spaces that we'll be creating, which would be based on a hot desking principle. We are also looking for areas we could find tenants for within the Civic Centre, and also for somebody to supply coffee concession in the main reception area is what's planned. Also, there's a few open areas or spaces out around the Civic Centre which had been looked at initially as a potential for sites that could fund or partially fund the works that was being taken out, but it's thought that it's best delay that until the developer's appetite returns, because the market is pretty subdued at the moment in terms of development. I suppose in terms of next step, we keep the corporate management team updated. We're working with our designers to ensure that we get the correct furniture and best value for what we're doing. We're expecting the vending machines to come into the Civic Centre in about March, and we also expect that the plant for the Civic Centre to have commercial. We have commenced discussions with them on plants as in greenery within the Civic Centre. Our estates team are leading on the different leasing and a coffee provider, and we're also getting some of the chairs and desks out on for a trial basis to see which ones work best for us, and the costings for this have to be agreed along with some internal signage. In terms of cost overall, the programme is 13.4 million, of which just over 5 million has been released, and for phases 1 and 2. And to do the remaining 7 quadrants, we'll need a further release of 4.9 million. There are also IT requirements of 600,000, with carbon reduction of 195,000, the lifts of 192,000, and level 1 of the Middlesex Suite will cost 437,000. So there is some contingency there, as in the remaining budget. We are working with our procurement team to get the best frameworks and the best value we can in terms of the contractors involved. We are also doing decarbonisation, which is feeding into some of the cost. In terms of our governance, we have weekly meetings with all the people involved, all the stakeholders, and monthly meetings with the wider team. Regularly update our corporate management team, and MTFF savings are tracked, and we keep members updated with briefings as required. And the aim is to configure and refurbish the existing listed building to bring more functions into the council building, which will free up other locations and create a multi-purpose hub in the heart of Uxbridge, and reduce the council's running costs and carbon emissions. That's what I take. Any questions?
Thank you, Michael. Questions? Councillor Tuckwell.
Thank you, and thank you, Michael, for taking us through that. Quite an in-depth report, actually. I mean, you covered that off quite nice. I know it's a big project. So I'm just interested on a couple of points, and I might come back depending on how any further questions. But in terms of the 2 phases, you talked about the timescales sort of between October and July. Are they on track, or is there any?
Some parts are ahead, some parts are behind. But we'll have to see how certain other decisions come through, and we can start to get. Some parts are ahead and some parts are behind. But overall, we're comfortable with the way it's going. Yes, the later phases carry on from July, but the initial focus is on getting 2 east finished, 1 north finished, and work on the Middlesex Suite, certainly level 1. Level 2 might take a little bit longer.
Yeah. And if I may have a follow-up on that. So, okay, I mean, like a lot of these projects, complex is going to be a little bit of ebb and flow with timescales. But you mentioned earlier on about staff involvement, and there's a couple of things I'd just like to just understand to what level we're involving the people that are going to be using this new space. And you talked about desks and chairs, and these things are actually quite important, actually, because they're going to be using them extensively. So just a little bit about how we're involving the staff in shaping what the space looks like, but also how we're also accounting for access, people, so that it's fully accessible to everybody, no matter what their situation.
Yes. Well, initially we had some drop-in sessions for people, so that we could give them a broader idea of what was going on. We have some information on our intranet, and we did the fly-through, which is kind of a CGI version of what will be there to show people what to expect. We had taken feedback in the initial period, but once we get our designs done, we kind of have to move on with the designs that are agreed at the time. We are looking at getting some sample desks, chairs, etc., so that people can try them out. A few have already been brought in and tried out, and there have been some preferences. But what we want to do is try it out in a wider audience, so that we can get the right furniture for that will suit both the people and our requirements. In terms of accessibility, we are doing up all the lifts, so there will be accessibility through the lifts. The Civic Centre, because of its nature, has ramps. They are from the period it was built in, but they are there, so you can get around the building currently. But if there is specific requirements, we will look at those on a case-by-case basis, as in when we did the one south where the adult education is, we put a ramp and a lift in there externally, so that it was fully accessible.
Thank you, and that's a really nice space, that adult education bit. I've been down there recently, it's really good. Thank you.
Councillor Cole.
Thank you, Chair. On page 8 it says Middlesex Suites and Corporate, due to new location of the housing needs, reception and other factors, an updated contract program is being sequenced. Can you please shed light on what these other factors may be, if you can, if it doesn't form the part 2 of it, and of the furniture that we are buying, if you can tell me how much of it is sustainable, recycled, upcycled, reclaimed or reused, because the whole purpose of the building is that. Thank you.
The reason would have to go into part 2, so we can deal with it offline.
Yeah, if it's part 2, it's got to be offline.
Yeah. None of the furniture has been picked yet, but the consideration will be sustainability and carbon impact, as well as functionality and ease of use and suitability and safe as well. Yeah. You will look at recycle, upcycling, all of that? Yes, yeah. That is kind of taken more globally in terms of there's no point in doing carbon reduction and putting a lot of carbon into a building. So yes, materials are taken into consideration as well.
Councillor Gaelic.
Thank you, Chair. I've got this question about the replacement of the windows. So currently we've got the same type, Crital windows?
Correct, yeah. What we have is a new Crital window, basically. But Crital are a type of metal window that come from, I suppose, when it was originally built. But of course, they would have been single glazed at the time. So what we've done is a Crital window with double glazing. Double glazed.
And are you replacing all the windows? Because I believe there are about 700 in the building.
No. Most of the building has what you can see. Well, the other side of the window there, the timber windows is most of the building. It's just that part of the building, which is the older section, had the metal Crital windows. So they're being placed like for like. What we're proposing in terms of the rest of is secondary glazing. So we put another basically window inside, so that you have your double glaze effect by a secondary glazing internally.
Right. Could I just have one more question? It regards the external client that you identified to be a new tenant. Can you elaborate on it? Give us an idea. What's the nature of the business, or who it is?
That at the moment will be part 2 because it's commercially sensitive.
Councillor Money.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for the report. So my question was also on the external clients. A question on how it was chosen or who we're targeting. Is that non-part 2 or is that part 2 as well?
I think you'll find that's still part 2 because it's part of how the commercial would have worked to get to that point.
Because one of the points of this thing is to make it sustainable, generate income, you know. Okay, that's if it's part 2. Would it be possible to see the fly-through? I couldn't find it on the intranet page.
Okay, I'll organise for a fly-through.
Yeah, if you could see the fly-through, I think that'd be helpful.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? No? Thank you, Michael, for that extensive update. I know there's a lot going on here and you're thinking, well, where am I today? Which side am I going? Which ladder am I going up? Which floor am I on? So thank you for attending this evening and going through it with us. And also, if you can, let us have that link for the fly-through. It would be good. Thanks very much. No, you can't go. So moving on, agenda item 6, restoration project at Cranford Park. Over to you again, Michael.
Okay, thank you again, Councillor. Cranford Park, in the, I suppose, southeast of the borough, just adjoining Heathrow, contains some historic buildings and structures and a historic landscape as well as open space. And the proposal is to try and rejuvenate the area by doing up the stables, the cellars from the old Cranford House that was demolished. Slips my mind now when it was demolished, but it's a long time ago. But the cellars still remain. So it was to do up those and put a cafe in to try and generate some traffic and use of the park, and also include I suppose playgrounds and areas for people to come and a bit of interpretation and to help with volunteering and create events and programs for people to come and enjoy the park and I suppose improve the what's available in the park. It has been largely externally funded, mostly by the National Heritage Lottery Fund and the Community Lotteries Fund. The original bid was in 2017, with the second detailed bid in July 2020. Construction work started in April 2022, and practical completion was received in July 2023. The project budget was 4.49 million. Practical completion, like I said, was received in July 2023, and at that time the cellars have been done, the stables have been completed, along with lighting, security systems, and the cafe, a hard-standing area, and an upgrade of the information centre, along with a playground and an extended car park, plus improvements to the driveway in. We also had to put a bridge over the River Crane for cables, and we updated St Dunstan's subway. There was some snagging being done over the last few months, and there are a few items still outstanding, which is the cellars are very, very slow drying, probably because of the decades of being underground, and so we haven't put in the staircases or the doors in that area just yet. But we are monitoring it, and the humidity is decreasing, albeit slowly. We have put up new signage and interpretation boards. We have also put a projector and a screen in the cellar which shows a 10-minute synopsis of the history of Cranford Park and Cranford House. And we've also put an audio of a groom and talking to a stable boy from 1828 in the stables, together with harness, some hay, and dressing up box for children. There is an audio trail put in place, and so most of the signage is done with just a few little bits remaining. One of our biggest issues in the park is that we needed 500 kVA of electricity, which requires a transformer, which would give enough power to power the cafe's kitchen, which would be all electric because we're so far from gas, it's just uneconomical to bring it in. As you probably can read from it, it hasn't been quite straightforward with SSE, and we still haven't, while they have our transformer in their yard, it's still not connected for us, and it's all to do with deeds of grant for way leaves and leases, which not all of them are in our control because we didn't own all the land that they want to cross over. But it is being worked through at, from our point of view, a slow pace, but we are on top of them and after them to try and speed this thing up so that we can get the power in. Once they bring the power to the site, we have to dig the trench from where we put the transformer back to our own switchboards. But we have somebody lined up to do that, so that's not a big issue for us. The other issue which kind of surprised us was the foul drainage. There is a sewer there. This area has been used for decades. An interpretation was, our centre was a small little unit was built with toilets in it prior to Hillingdon's ownership of it, connected to the sewer. The church is connected to the sewer. Everybody assumed it was a public sewer, but it was found out at quite a late stage that actually, while it went quite some distance, it went to a septic tank which discharges into the ground. Because of the increase in numbers that we'd be bringing to the park, it was thought that relying on the septic tank was not a good option. So we did look at quite a number of options. Our preferred option would always be to connect to a sewer, but the nearest sewer is so far away, the cost was just uneconomical. And the best solution we came up with was to put in a sewage treatment plant on the site, which would deal with the numbers that we were expecting. That is currently procured, and we're just waiting for the Environment Agency to give us the permit to put it in and discharge into the river. The cafe lease is ongoing. My colleagues in the estates team are working on it, and we have somebody interested in it at the moment. So we're just working through that. Of course, it would be more helpful if the power was in place, because until they see power, they can't really move ahead with the equipment installation that they want to do. I suppose Cranford Park steering group, it includes representatives from the Friends Group, local residents group, the St Dunstan's Church, London Wildlife Trust, and quite a number of other people are involved. And the intention is that we can restore this historic park and, I suppose, increase volunteer numbers and access and use of the park. I suppose to complete the project, our two outstanding items are the transformer and the sewage treatment plant. The sewage treatment plant being the easier of the two. Any questions?
I've got a couple, and then I'll come across to other councillors. This transformer does seem to be a bit of a bugbear at the moment.
Yeah.
When was the last time we actually contacted SSE? If you're saying we're constantly contacting them, when was the last time? And how forceful are we when we do contact them? Is it like, oh, can you tell us, chaps, when you're going to do it? Or do we get...
We contact them weekly. The problem is that it's very hard to get talking to the person that probably has control over it all. And in the way they operate as well is that you deal with SSE to purchase it. However, they then subcontract out doing the wayleaves and the leases to an outside firm. And also the installation is subcontracted out by them to somebody else. So it's while we can talk to the person that we have contact with, they work on a basis of something must be completed before they move on to the next stage. Because we've asked them while the leases are going on, can you not just bring in our transformer and start connecting it? Fine, you don't have to turn it on until all the wayleaves are in place. But everybody has actually agreed that to do the wayleaves, but they won't do that. They say that until the wayleaves are all in place, they won't actually even consider giving us a date for delivery.
Okay, so it's sort of in a big circle then.
Yeah.
You said that we've got somebody lined up to do the cable trenches when they eventually
Yes.
come in and do it. Is this an external company to us?
It's a contractor we'd be hiring in.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
So they've given you the cost
Yeah.
as of now.
Yeah.
But what if this delay keeps going on and on and on? Is that a fixed cost that we know isn't going to move, or is it likely to move?
I suppose, like everything, it depends on how long it takes. It's a fixed cost now and probably for the next few months. But what we're finding with SSE as well is that when they have a delay, they charge us more because their contract, which you have to sign to get your transformer, allows them to increase the cost to the date of completion. Yeah.
Councillor Garlick, you indicated?
Thank you, Chair. You mentioned that the treatment plant is not can be connected to the public sewer. Do you know the distance?
It's the actual distance. I can't tell you, but I can tell you roughly where it is. You'd either have to go through St Dunstan's. I don't know if you know the area well or not, but you go through under St Dunstan's and all the way up to the main road, which is beyond Watersplash Lane. Or you go the other direction. You have to go under the river and across to the other side of into Hounslow, and I think the sewer is somewhere around the M4, where the M4 crosses.
Okay, so it's well over.
So we did actually cost it, and it's a lot more expensive than doing a sewage treatment plant.
Right. And connected with that, how will the liquid will be discharged into the underground soakaway or other way? Our
plan it's subject to what the Environment Agency want in the end. The intention was we would discharge to the river, but we'd be discharging at a level that the Environment Agency would accept. Plus, because it's a treatment plant, we would need regular monitoring on it, so it would be checked to see that it is achieving those on a regular basis.
Thank you.
Councillor Money.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you for the report. I think everyone's looking forward to the park being fully up and running, and it's a real shame about SSE not playing ball. My question was also to do with the treatment plant. There's going to be ongoing costs, like substantial costs for the council, or is it a one-off? It can't be
there will be an annual fee, but it's in the hundreds of pounds rather than tens of thousands.
Okay. Just to follow up, and on the bottom of page 15, there is a small overspend on the heritage budget. Is it relatively small or?
Well, relative to the project, it is small, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Councillor Tupman.
No, thank you, Mr. Chairman. And again, I remember from my days in planning, which seems like a lifetime ago now, this coming to planning for various to do with the cellars and the like. So I think everybody around this table knows my passion for heritage. So I think it's only right that we congratulate officers for bringing this site back to life, as Councillor Money has mentioned there. Clearly there are some logistical issues around some of the technicalities with the sewer and the power, but I think when this is done and dusted, it will be a great asset for our residents to enjoy.
Councillor Cole.
Thank you, Chair. Do we then, keeping all the circumstances in mind, have a deadline or a timeline in mind that by this time we kind of know that this will be over and done with and people can start coming in? Is there?
Yeah, well, the park is open again and people can start coming in at present, but the cafe isn't there because of the electricity issue. But we want, our target is to have this cafe up and running before the summer, because we would see kind of anybody taking on a cafe wouldn't really want to be starting in the autumn, because I presume their biggest turnover would be between Easter and September. So we are pushing hard because of that requirement, so that the cafe owners can get their kitchens built. But as you can appreciate, the time, we're being squeezed a little bit on time.
Thank you. Any other questions? No. Thank you, Michael. I echo what Councillor Tuckwell said, that officers have done a really good job pushing this. Unfortunately, we realise you are going to come up to some problems, especially when you come up against a corporation like SSE wanting this in place and that in place, and then somebody else saying, well, actually, we need this, and that becomes even problematic for you. But you've done really well, and especially the Cranford Park steering group as well, assisting, it's going really well. So fingers crossed we can get it open for summer.
Yeah. So
take back our thanks as well. So thank you, Michael.
Okay. Thank you, councillors. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Right, agenda item 7, Council's Road Safety Initiatives and Activities around the Borough Schools, draft findings, conclusions and recommendations. The recommendation on this is that the committee considers conclusions, findings and draft recommendations in relation to the review. Nisha, do you want to say anything or just run us through?
Thank you, Chair. So the committee has reached a stage now where they've heard from witnesses over the course of a few meetings, and now are asked to consider potential recommendations or ideas or suggestions for improvement based on what they've heard.
Okay, do we have any comments on Councillor Cole?
Thank you, Chair. We were also looking at the possibility of a written statement from someone in enforcement, like if there was a possibility if we could, because we couldn't get them physically to attend any witness session, but we thought they formed kind of one of the stakeholders in this. So if it was possible to obtain their written statement, and then if they want anything from the council to help them out, if there was a possibility of that. Thank you.
I think we do need something off them, because we want to know what their patterns and everything are, and I think that the school travel team, we're going to try and get something from them. I think one of the officers said that they would try and get something because they were unable to attend our witness sessions when we'd originally asked them, and so we said, okay, a written statement will suffice. So that will be good if we can get that. I think from what we've heard from the school children we had in, and the residents we've had in, the head teachers we've had in, and our own officers, I think parking around schools, like any other borough, is still a very difficult and contentious issue if you live around the school. But also if you're a parent going to that school, and if you don't drive but you're walking and you see the way these cars parking, etc., etc. So I think what we need to do is pull all together for our next meeting all of the witness statements, etc., that we had, and come up with findings from that. I certainly think we need to look at school involvement and possibly have the school travel team back in here to get their views on certain things, because they're the ones that are working with the schools. We've heard from one school that seem to be doing everything they can at the end of an industrial estate, and they do seem to be trying everything they can, and there was one glaring issue that came from that, which was the cycle lane. It's only on one side of the road. So, you know, straight away you've got to ask yourself, well, shouldn't that be on both sides? If not, then give us a valid reason why we can't have it down both ways. Because it does seem weird that if you're cycling down there, at one point you're going to be going against the traffic. So, you know, and they are doing their best down there at the end of that industrial estate. And they're a very good school as well. And then we had the other school in that their pupils were very animated and very passionate about what they were doing as well. I think what we need to do is try and focus on those schools that aren't quite so engaged with our school travel team, and try and, we could have, as I say, get the school travel team back in and ask them, well, what do you think we could put forward as a select committee that would give you that extra push for the schools? Because it is difficult. There are some schools, we've heard from them, that are very good, and there are schools that just don't, for some reason, engage. Yet those schools are still responsible for those pupils during school times and as they're coming out of the sites. There were some issues that the resident had at the last meeting where vehicles are parking on the pavement. Well, that shouldn't be happening. But then he did say that when he has seen enforcement, when they come along, they actually drive off. Well, that's because enforcement by law have to give a certain amount of time of observation. And they can't hide behind a tree and then jump out and say, well, I've been looking at you from behind a tree for 5 minutes, because you're not allowed to do things like that. It's entrapment. So it's quite right, Councillor Cord, that we do get that written report from the enforcement provider so that we understand what issues they face outside the schools. Because it's easy for us to say, well, why aren't they doing it? When they could actually come back and say, well, we're not doing this because of X, Y, Z. But we don't know because nobody's come before this committee. So I think it's important we get that if we can for the next meeting. Obviously, we still have the road safety budget that is used by the Cabinet member. But I think we do need to look at the emergency accident data, traffic offences, etc. We just need to see what the trends are and what parts of the borough seem to be the worst affected by this school traffic. And it's not trying to say to parents, look, there's no way you can drop little Johnny off at school anymore, we're banning it. We can't do that, because we know that parents take their children to school because 9 times out of 10 they're carrying on to work themselves. And the only way they can do it is in that fashion. What we're trying to do is make it safer and putting forward recommendations to Cabinet in a way that we can. But I think a key element of this is enforcement. We just haven't heard from them. And I think that's so important that we do, because we need to understand what sort of flack perhaps their officers are actually taking outside schools. We can probably guess some of it, but we need to know. And also getting the data, as you said, Councillor Keith, of how many tickets are you issuing outside schools? That'd help for a start. So we do that at our next meeting. So if between now and the next meeting, you can think about what we've heard from our witnesses, your notes that I've made notes, and I know that all of you have been making notes, and then we can come back here and say, right, we think this is a key element, this is a key element, this is a key element, we think that should be in our findings. You happy with that approach? Councillor Tutwell? Okay. Thank you. So, Nisha, if you can get that data for us, and definitely that statement from COA, because we think that is vital to help us understand what's going on outside schools and how often. Councillor Money.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, in Hillingdon, we've got William Byrd Primary School, and recently, in December, a boy was hit. He was fine, but he was hit by a car. And we've had a not parking petition, a road petition, and actions from that road petition were to put in speed bumps at crossing, which are, don't quote me on this, 3 years delayed. So is there anyone we can reach out to in the road safety team, but also the highways team, to see if there's any works that are outstanding due to budgetary constraints or things that, like I've got one in Hillingdon, and it's down to budget from our understanding, but who else is being affected throughout the wards or throughout the borough?
I think really...
This was highlighted like 3 years ago, and this is the second accident now.
Okay, has it been brought back to the cabinet member, or has he been made aware of this?
Yes, I believe the new head teacher reached out to the cabinet member and us at the same time, and the highways office has come back to us, but no agreed date has been set at the moment. But my question
but they
is,
said it's in the plan, but no agreed date.
It's in the plan, but no agreed date. But this is just one school in one ward. I mean, where else is this taking place? I suppose is my overall question.
Okay, so I think your question is, how many road safety initiatives have been agreed for outside or near schools, but are yet to be delivered? Is that correct?
Yeah, correct.
Okay. Can we get that data? Thank you. Okay, are we happy with that? Yep. Okay. Thank you. Moving on. Cabinet forward plan. Now, just before we go into this, Councillor Keith sent me an email about 2 cabinet reports that she felt we should look at. One, all I can say is it's a land disposal, and the reason I can't name where is because it's actually a part 2. Okay? But that report now has been deferred until early spring, so that's not even forward yet. The other one was School Capital Programme, which is a part 1 report, that's what I can tell you what it is, and that's now been deferred until April. Both could be shared with this committee, but both of them require the cabinet members' approval to share with this committee. Is that correct, Anisha?
That's right, Chair. There's also other factors about whether the report will be ready in time, like time frames, information, and also, just generally, there's other factors involved as well, so that would also need to be taken into account.
So it was trying to get those details, because I thought one of them was definitely going to be deferred. I didn't realise the second one was being deferred as well. Hence why I wanted all the eggs in one basket before I commented and let you know what's happening with those currently. So Anisha is aware of them, but obviously, as she's alluded to, there could be other factors involved in time frames and information and details that perhaps we won't get them in time before the decision's made. But they are there. So looking at the current Cabinet Forward Plan, with ours, a lot of ours are actually private because of their sensitive nature. There could be contracts involved, etc., etc. So that's why they end up as being private. Now we've got the Hillingdon cycling strategy in March, but we've already looked at that. We already had the officer here and we went through it, and we've already commented on that one. It's called Capital Programme Update. That's due, as I said, at the moment in April. Then there's others that are private again. Then the scheduled upcoming decisions, they're just decisions to be confirmed yet. Apart from those that I've mentioned, as I said, we've already commented on one. I don't think, certainly I haven't got any reports on there that at this moment in time I wouldn't call to the committee unless anybody else has got any comments. Remembering that most of them are part 2, so you can't name them. Which makes it quite awkward. If there are any of those that are part 2, then obviously send the email to myself and the clerk. If when you study it further you think that we should. Okay. So apart from that, are we happy that we've looked at the forward plan? And for now, we're happy at what's on there, yes? Agreed? Okay, we'll move on to agenda item 9, which is our Select Committee work programme. You'll see for this municipal year, we only have 2 more meetings. One, thankfully, avoids my birthday. The 6th of March one avoids my birthday. So that's 7 p.m. in this committee room. And then our final one this municipal year will be the 9th of April, 7 p.m. in this committee room as well. So if we look at those, I know we're saying we're going towards a draft report in March for our current road safety, but we probably will. We'll probably be putting together a draft report, to be honest. Then we move down, we've got the building safety strategy monitoring report, the forward plan as usual. Let's go across to here. Is that the council's fleet, that one? It's always difficult to follow. It is, yeah. Council's fleet, including electrification. And then we've got the draft Hillingdon cycling strategy. Is that right? Or is that the one underneath? Oh no, it's housing forward. Housing forward investment strategy coming to us. And then April, it's the usual monitoring ones, etc. And obviously finalising our cabinet report anyway. So that's our work programme with the 2 meetings. Are we agreed? Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for this evening. As I say, anything you go back through your notes after the witness sessions, please bring forward, or if you feel you want to email them so that Anisha's got time perhaps to collate them before our next meeting so that they can be circulated round to us all, then that might be a good idea and way forward. But certainly this APCOA request, I think, is one that we really do need, 100%. Councillor Money, you indicated.
Yeah, it was on a separate project, the Jubilee Leisure Centre. Is it possible to arrange a visit? Because it was just an informal discussion that we had with Michael just before the meeting on how council has taken over some of the subcontractors and work is ongoing, which is good news. I wasn't aware of it. I don't know if anyone else was.
We got a report that it was a 1-pager that came out to say they'd secured it and what they've done so far. I think that's where you saw about councils taking some of the work, I think, did you?
Oh no, it was just through the conversation with Michael.
Okay, we got that come through and it's about what they've done and the way they've secured it at the moment. I think it's something that Anisha may have to take away to see whether or not we can arrange a visit to the site. So I don't know, obviously, how secure or how safe it might be for us to go there. It should be safe, but I don't know about getting in and out at the moment.
Yep.
But if Anisha takes that forward, then she can let us know.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you once again, and I call the meeting to close.